Hello and welcome to another interesting Snowflake Store Procedure topic. In this video, I am going to cover how to use try-catch blocks and its use cases in Snowflake Store Procedure. This is a part 4 video of Snowflake Store Procedure series. If you haven't watched my previous videos, then I request you to please watch it once as I have covered many interesting Snowflake topics. For more latest videos and updates, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel or my website www.cloudblogspot.com. For additional information and demo code, please refer the video description section below. Alright, let's get started. Let's look at the demo of Snowflake Store Procedure Try Catch, Exception Handling and Monitoring part. Once you log into your Snowflake account, let's create sample database and tables for our tutorial. So I have already prepared this sample code for you so that we will not waste much time on writing the script or code. Let's first create the database and use command. Next, let's create two schemas, stage and monitoring. So in stage, we have actual tables, and then in monitoring, we will store our monitoring table. Next, let's create one EMP table inside our stage schema, and let's create one SP underscore status table inside our monitoring schema. So let's verify the table from the left hand side. As we can see, we have successfully created SP underscore status. It has 0 records, and we also have EMP table. It is also again having 0 records. Next, let's look at this sample store procedure. So this is a very basic store procedure which gives the better idea about how we can use try catch blocks here. I usually prefer Visual Studio Code Editor to write the store procedure and debug it. So let's copy this store procedure and go to your Visual Studio code and then create new file. Give a example, try underscore catch underscore example, try underscore catch underscore example .js, and then paste it here. As we can see, it's much better to see this code here and also debug it. So let's look at this store procedure. First, we are declaring the syntax, and here we are creating store procedure name try underscore catch underscore example. In this store procedure, we are passing table name as a parameter. Then its a return type is varchar, language as JavaScript. Next, in this first line, we are creating this insert statement, and we'll insert this sample record 1 and hello from 1. Next, we define our try block, and inside this try block, we define a statement which we need to execute. So this let is a JavaScript variable declaration syntax. So this let, when we define a variable with let, this is only the scope of this variable is valid only within this try block. If we define like this var in record, so this is a kind of global scope, so we can access this in record in try block as well as in catch block. So that's the difference between let and var. So we next we'll just pass this in underscore record to snowflake.execute function, and this is a syntax. We need to follow this proper syntax. Then if there is any error while executing this statement, insert statement, then we'll just go to exception catch block and we'll catch the exception and we'll simply return from catch. Otherwise, we'll just return the success if there is no exceptions. So let's run this store procedure. So I have already prepared this store procedure. So we'll just simply run it. Let's test this store procedure now. I'm passing this table name as a parameter. So this is schema name dot table name, and I will just pass it. Okay. So as we can see, we have a syntax error, and it says catch SQL compilation error, syntax error line 1 at position 35, unexpected value. So as we can see in our insert statement, the syntax should be values. So if we simply recreate our store procedure with the new updated code, and if we test it again, now we can see it has successfully returned this success message. So this was a very simple example of try catch block, how we can capture error messages and how we can actually print the error messages on console. So next, let's look at more advanced example of this try catch block. So I have this another store procedure prepared for you. So we'll just copy paste this in Visual Studio Code. So let me explain you what is happening in this store procedure. First, we'll just create this store procedure with name try underscore catch underscore example 2. Next, we'll pass table name, ID, and message as a parameter. Here, I'm declaring one date variable. So we'll we'll just get the current date. This is a JavaScript syntax to get current date. Next, we are preparing our insert statement, and here I am passing this ID and message dynamically, and also this table name from the parameter. Next, we define our try block, and inside this try block we have statement where we are passing that insert statement. Next, if our statement executes successfully, then we'll get our query ID. So I am just getting that query ID into this query ID variable. Next, if we successfully execute this statement, and then if once we get our query ID, I am just creating another insert statement which will insert our success message into our monitoring schema of table sp underscore status. So here this table has ID, query status, query message, and load date. As we can see, ID, I am passing it dynamically over here. Then I know if it runs, if this insert statement return inside this try block, that means it's a success. Then we'll just pass that query ID, and we will also then pass that load date. So query underscore message is our query ID, and load underscore time dot to ISO string. So this will actually convert our date into string format, and then we are just casting for our Snowflake insertion, because in Snowflake this load underscore date is having timestamp as a data type. Next, we'll just pass that success query, I mean that insert query to for the execution, and this statement will execute that. And after that, finally, we'll simply return that success insert query message. Next, inside this catch block, we are again preparing that insert statement. So if there is any error while inserting this record, then it will go to this catch block, and in this monitoring table we will first insert ID, then we'll insert query status, so it's failed, and after that we'll also insert that query message, so what was the error, and then we'll again insert this load underscore date. And finally we'll just execute that error statement, and we'll return that error statement. So let's test this store procedure. Okay, so let's create this store procedure first. Now let's pass these three parameters. First is stage.emp. Stage is a schema, then table name. Then we are passing 2 as a ID, and message will be hello from 2. If I just run this store procedure, I can see it has failed because of again that value error, syntax error. So let's go back to that insert statement. Let's write that values, and let's run that store procedure again, and let's call that store procedure. As we can see, now our store procedure has successfully inserted one success message inside this sp underscore status, and it has that query ID. So let's verify our EMP table. We can see first in this first store procedure, we have inserted this one and hello from one message, and from this second store procedure we have inserted, and from that second store procedure we have inserted this 2 and hello from 2 message. Let's verify this sp underscore status. As we can see, it has one failed status message and one success message, and this is a query ID for that success query. We can again go back to this history tab, and we can also verify that query ID from here. So that's it in this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.